Welcome to this GENA program. I'm your host, Paul McAdam. With me is the Chief Education Officer, Marcel Hudson, and he will give us an update on the Ministry of Education's 2017 program and what has been delivered thus far. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
First thing is, we look at the Read, Play, Love program that the ministry launched to improve literacy and numeracy of nursery and grade 1 students. How is that program been going?
Well, Paul, I could say that that program is going fairly well. We recognize the importance of literacy and the importance of getting our children to read at a very early stage. It is said that from grades 1, anywhere around grades 1 to 3, you learn to read, and after grades 3, 4, you read to learn. And therefore, our children will not be able to perform to their maximum potential if they have not mastered the literacy skills. So the program that you're talking about, Read, Play, Love, it's done at the national level, and we have had good success in terms of rolling out of the program in Bartica, in the interland areas, in the city. We had some very key persons in the Ministry of Education speaking on that program, encouraging persons to really have their parents and the children to be a part of this whole activity.
Do parents understand the importance of getting their child to learn to read at an early age?
Well, that is something, sir, that we're really trying to promote and to push, because sometimes you get a sense that our parents, some parents are not serious in terms of the development of their children. It is no secret that if you can't read, the door will be closed for you in terms of, you know, what possibilities might be out there for you. And therefore, it is important that the parents be an integral part of this entire process. The research, sir, and the literature is clear that when parents are integrally involved in the education of their children, particularly in reading stories to the children, labeling items in the house like a table, chair, over time, you know, it develops the reading skills. And so we cannot overemphasize the importance of parents being a part of this process. And so through PTA meetings and workshops, seminars, we try to get our parents to really buy into this process, to know that their role is tremendous in terms of the achievements that we want.
You had a program to revise the curriculum. The ministry had promised that there would be a curriculum review and assessment, curriculum development, training for pilot programs and so on. How is that coming so far?
Well, it's on stream. It's not moving at a pace I personally would like to see it move at. But I think we are in the phase now where we're engaging members of the public, members of civil society, in terms of having consultations, what the curriculum should include, because the approach that we have right now, it's quite different. And, you know, there was a time when ministry officials would sit down and decide that this is what we want. But I think a broad-based approach is better. And so we are in the phase of consultations, holding consultations with civil society as to what is we should have included in the curriculum. And this program is funded by the World Bank. And so actually the World Bank is here, and there's a meeting shortly in relation to some other World Bank projects. So it is on stream. I would really like it to move very quickly, though, because I think we're at a stage now where we really need to have our curriculum revised.
Okay, yeah. Any estimate on how much it's going to cost? A guesstimate, perhaps.
Well, we're talking about a couple of $1 million, Guyana dollars. It might be well over 5 million Guyana dollars, because the revision process, it's more than just paperwork. It has to do with people traveling. It has to do with the construction. We're going to be looking at our textbooks, and you know, whether these books they're relevant to what we want and where we want to go. and we may very well have to buy, invest in books and so on. So it is something that it's a costly exercise, and we're happy to know that the World Bank is supporting us in this venture.
All right. Now, there's a program to reintegrate music and sports back into the school system. I know this was in the system years ago.
Yes.
How is that coming in terms of getting it back into the schools?
Well, I could say that the Honorable Minister, Dr. Rupert Rupnarine, he had, from his ascension to this ministry or his appointment, he advocated for music, in particular in this classroom. He wants to see music, and to the extent that we actually had persons, I think we have contracted a gentleman by the name of Paul Court, who has been coming to Guyana. He's Guyanese, but living in Trinidad, and he has been driving this music program. I could say also, in terms of the physical education, the sports and so on, coming out of the ministry of, coming out of culture, it's one ministry, but the Honorable Minister Henry has been very vocal also, and a number of persons would have been appointed as coaches. The youth director has been integrally involved. I receive visits from persons who ask as to how we could actually put sports in the timetable, and these things are being done now so that we could create a balanced child. I think what we don't want is to have our children not balanced.
Just focus on academics
yes,
alone.
We don't want lopsided children, but we want children, because you find that when you are exposed to these things, Paul, when you're exposed to these things, you find that your brain works better, and your whole life, you know, it's a balanced approach rather than you just leaning on one particular side and you're not relevant, so to speak. And so we're talking about creating a rounded child. And there's no secret. Children who are involved in sports, who are involved in music and so on, those children do extremely well than someone who says, look, my whole life is just centered on academics alone and I'm not going to be engaged in it. I don't think you see that even in schools, in the modern school.
Because I think we get this from employers sometimes, that when they take on people with a lot of subjects, then they can't really relate to other people. So you got to put them in a cubicle, and that's it. And that's not really the kind of employee they're looking for.
No, I agree with you.
All right. So they're looking for who's balanced around.
Balance is key.
All right. Okay. Well, society's changed, and there's often been a need cited for counseling in schools to deal with the social issues and so on. Yeah. Do we have a school counselor program, and do we have enough counselors in schools, if we do have them in schools?
We have a counseling program. I don't think that we have enough counselors, but what I do know that this is the direction that the Ministry of Education is moving, because we recognize that we have lots of children out there with lots of issues, issues that, you know, ultimately will affect their school life and so on. Sometimes children just need someone to talk to, someone to give them the kind of guidance that they need in terms of how they deal with life issues and so on. And to that extent, the Ministry of Education would have engaged in hiring school counselors, engage in building what we call counsel rooms, and we plan to move out. What we have done so far in terms of the counseling rooms would have been centered in the city, and you know, wherever there is apparently urbanization and city life, it is associated with all kinds of issues. It is not to say
good and bad.
Good and bad. Yeah, good and bad. I like that. Not to say that we don't have those issues in the hinterland and so on, yeah, but we are moving out. So we have built up. We have like 10 counseling rooms where counselors are positioned on a daily basis, and our children could actually go and receive the kind of counseling that they need to move forward, because you know what we've had in our school system. And the thing is, the teacher alone can't suffice in terms of bringing guidance and instructions, because the teacher has a job to do. And so if you have children with issues, a teacher can't be spending the entire day looking at children with issues because they have the curriculum to cover it. It is not that our teachers, they do not participate and help, but I think they...
That will be more on your plate.
Right. And so we need to expand the counseling program. I think plans are afoot to ensure that more counselors are brought into the system so that every school, I know the dream of the minister is that every school should have a counselor. We don't have that right now, but I think we're in a good place and we're moving in the right direction by establishing these schools and seeking to hire. We have started with the problematic areas. So it's more like a scientific approach, and you roll it out as we go ahead.
If a child, who determines whether a child needs counseling or not?
Well, first of all, there's a school welfare unit. And there are times when we receive calls from the school, the head teacher, based upon behavior patterns and practices of children and so on. And the head teacher might very well ask us to come and look at this particular matter. And sometimes the people who are skilled in the area, when they recognize what is happening, they refer them for counseling. Yeah.
Now, there's been a move to have more use of technology in school. For example, teachers got laptops.
Yes.
Well, I won't ask how many, but I know a lot of them got laptops. Are these laptops being used by the teachers for the purposes intended?
Well, I know for a fact that they got the laptops, and I could tell you that they didn't just receive a laptop. They receive a laptop with critical information.
Okay, already pre-programmed.
Already pre-programmed. For example, the number of schools that we have in this country, where those schools are located, who are the regional education officers, textbooks, what are the textbooks that are used for a particular subject. So the whole gamut, a whole range of information, that resource information that teachers could go to the laptop and open up and have a look at what is expected. Different policies, for example, if we have a policy on university, a policy on the use of textbooks, all those policies are there. In addition to circular, if we may have had a circular on, for example, that deals with school canteens, a circular that deals with corporal punishment, whatever circular that we may have had, the teacher can actually go to that laptop and open up that information for their own development.
Now, I'm thinking most of these schools are now connected by the internet. So if you give an update, automatically there's a program to update these laptops, or would you have to use email to update?
I think it's still, the school has what we call, many of our schools, and we're still working with the Interland schools, they have the e-governance project. And so our teachers can actually log on, and they could do research and those kinds of things that we are encouraging. And you ask a question if they're using it for that purpose. From what I know, that is the purpose that we've asked for those for the equipment to be used for. And I do hope that that is what they're using it for. Okay. I've had good reports from different schools, but I can't speak for everyone. But, you know, even on this program, I would want to plead with those teachers to ensure that they use the laptops for the purpose for which it would have been given to them.
All right. Now, there's a pilot tablet program for grade 7 students from 8 pilot secondary schools. How is that going?
Well, yes, one Marcia Thomas is giving direct leadership to that. That is going fairly well as far as I know. But here again, we had to be very serious in terms of what our children use the tablets for, and but that is on stream, and that too is a part of what we call the GSEP program, is a secondary improvement education program. So that too is going well from all indications.
All right. Now, give me an update on the peer program. This is the mathematics strengthening capacity for secondary teachers.
Well, that comes directly under the purview of Miss Leslyn Charles, and I know for sure that she's the ACO secondary. I know for sure that her team would have been going around to schools, implementing this program in terms of conducting workshops, seminars, and so on, to bring our teachers really to a level that they could deliver. You know as well as I know, Paul, that we have not been doing extremely well in mathematics, but like any good system, we have not decided that we're going to roll over and die. And so we have a number of interventions, even at the level of the school, in terms of, this is a national program, but even at the level of the school, there are individual schools that, based upon the results that they've received, they've developed their own action plans and decided on the different areas that they will target to go forward. At the level of at the primary school, you will know, I have been instrumental as a result of what Cabinet had asked me to do, to prepare a plan of action to move the national grade 6 examination results, to move that forward and to ensure that our children do better. And so we are working with that. We have monitors in the school system. These are persons outside of they're not directly in the school system, but they're outside of the school system, and they're monitoring the intervention at the primary level. So we are moving in a direction where I think in a couple of years we will see real change in terms of the outcomes in relation to mathematics.
Okay. Now, I see there's been a move to upgrade and rehabilitate several schools. For example, like the Bartical, the Madio, St. Ignatius, and Fellowship. Some of the schools on the outlying areas. With regards to the practical instruction departments, in terms of expanding it, how is that program going?
Actually, I've just spoken with the Assistant Chief Education Officer, Technical, Mr. Chinedu, who he has direct responsibility for the technical aspect in education delivery and I've spoken to him, and I said to him that, you know, here again, from the time we spoke about this particular project, I've not been too pleased in terms of the movement, the speed. But here again, this is a project funded by the Caribbean Development Bank, not the World Bank this time, the CDB. And I know for a fact that they identified the land for these schools, the practical instruction centers. I think they had some drawings and so on, but what we need to do now is to move beyond identification of land and drawing to the actual construction and the placement of students in those schools, because I believe that TVET, it's a critical aspect of the education system of any society if the society is going to go forward. If you look at the German model, you look at Canadian model, even the Americans, you'll see that the whole concept of technical and vocational education, it's like the engine of driving. Because you need people with practical skills.
Right, you need people with practical skills, yes.
They make the most money in New York.
Yes, okay. Any plans for new schools to be built?
Well, I know for a fact with respect to secondary schools, we have a school is going to be built at Hope, and we have one in Parfait, because the numbers in that community, and what we have discovered is that wherever we have the opening of the new housing schemes, you find sometimes the population growth and the shifting of the population.
And so there is the demand for schooling.
So we have 2 new schools, but that one is being funded by the World Bank. Actually, that's part of the program that we're looking at right now. The World Bank key players are here, and we actually have a set of meetings with these persons.
Now, Brigham Secondary, right up the road. Any word on reconstruction of that?
Well, one of the things, my observation with Brigham Secondary, I think that the school that they're occupying now, that school that used to be East La Penitence Primary School, that school, in terms of the size, it's a massive building, and the Brigham, the secondary. Yeah, they fit nicely into that school, and I think we have to ask ourselves, Paul, as to what is prudent at this point in time. Here it is that we have a building that that could accommodate the entire cohort or the number of children at Brickdam Secondary, and so I don't know if it is prudent to build a school, and then the question is, right, and then what will we do with the building that has been rehabilitated, is in very good condition, spacious and everything. We have to ask ourselves these questions, but I'm sure that it is not a question that Brickdam has been forgotten and nobody's thinking about Brickdam Secondary. Okay. No. Right? But I think where they're at right now, they're in a far better place than where they used to be in Brickdam.
Okay, I noticed some repairs going on at St. Rose's.
Yes.
Timetable for completion of that?
Well, what they're going to be doing at St. Rose's, I could tell you it's massive. And it's more for the engineer to speak to that in terms of time and so on. But I know that once school is out, they will move full speed ahead in terms of the rehabilitation works and so on. We actually had to move our children out of the building, and we have done so. But I think it might be an issue now where there is an issue of an award for the work to be done. I think we're at that place.
Moving back to the interior, K2 school, that has been a sore point for many, many months. Construction or reconstruction, how is that project?
I had a meeting, well, not I had a meeting, but the permanent secretary had a meeting with some key players, and I know for a fact that that a decision was taken that work will commence, and so we should have the school in September, and that's like 2 weeks ago. I can't say exactly what has happened since then in the interim, but I know a number of key persons that were connected to K2, they sat right in this room, and some decisions were made with the permanent secretary on the way forward. And I was happy to hear that the contractor said that he is already mobilized and he's willing to go once he gets the green light. And I think that that's a good thing. We really want, because I could tell you in that area, the children, the situation is kind of, our children, they're kind of overcrowded, and we need to have that school up and running by September for maximum impact.
All right, now the Hospitality Institute. Minister had spoken about this months ago, about having such a facility built. Has there been any movement on that?
It's a work in progress, because that is done in conjunction with not only with the Ministry of Education, I think the Ministry of Tourism.
Okay,
also,
yes.
Those two ministries are involved in that. The last thing I know is that a group of persons were, a steering committee was developed to move that process forward, because it is something that we need to do if we're going to effectively deliver technical and vocational education. Okay. Yeah.
Now, finally, the Commission of Inquiry into the entire education system. Is that still ongoing? And any initial results from it so far?
Yes. A report was submitted to the Honorable Minister, and I think there was a launch and so on. But any good system, Paul, would not wait until a report is submitted to make its move in terms of what has to be done. The Ministry of Education has what we call the MORD unit, monitoring, evaluation, reporting unit, and that unit over the years identified a number of issues that the Commission of Inquiry has had identified. And as a result of the information received from that unit, the Monitoring, Evaluation, Report and Development, MORD, a number of actions were taken with respect to dealing with some of those issues that the COI identified. What the COI has done, in my view, is to bring to bear many of the things that persons knew that were happening, and I believe that under this particular leadership, we will have to change the way we deal with information. We will have to change the way we treat with information, because sometimes there could be a lethargy in terms of action, in terms of people know that we have issues, but there is no plan of action to deal with the issues. And so we are not prepared to gloss over, in this dispensation, gloss over things without dealing with them frontally. And so the COI has brought to bear information that we have used and we have begun to use in terms of dealing with the issues. They were able to identify some finer things that the MORD unit may not have been able to do because of the extensive nature of the work of the COI and what they did. And so we're grateful for the information that they have provided, but I could tell you that through the Office of the Assistant Chief Education Officers, nursery, primary, and secondary, many of those issues we have begun to arrest in terms of moving education forward. So I think that what we want now, we want buy-in and we want the support of our key players if we're going to change what has been existing and what we need to change.
Okay, well, thank you. And you've been watching a GENO program on the education sector, where we took a look at the latest in developments for 2017 within the sector. With me is the Chief Education Officer, Marcel Hudson. Thank you again for joining me on the program. And thank you for watching.